so excited. We'll talk about that in a second. I came out here to cut off my great big roll, a bunch of irrigation tubing, because I'm working on my deck. All you need is a scissors, a good scissors, and then you just cut what you need. But guess what? I took a walk out there and I found something exciting that I'm going to share with you. I think spring's here. So coming out today to water the plants, I could not believe my eyes. This is the tote I set up with the new irrigation tubing setup I'm doing for these different totes against the wall. And to my disbelief, all these zucchinis are coming up. Now let me explain to you what they are. When I set this up, and I'll show you in a minute how we do this tubing, it is so easy to put in there and it's just so secure for the tomato stakes or any stakes you want to use. I put in soil that was there. I took everything out. I loaded the whole bottom like I always do. And then on the top, I put back the soil. There's no potting soil in here at all. But I did have an old zucchini. So it was old, dried up. And I thought, I'll just throw it in there. Something I missed. Well, it's growing. Now, we're still in winter. And we've got weather that's all over the place. There's one day it's 80 degrees during the day, and then the next day it's 50. Last night, our temperature dropped. We got down into about 40, 42 degrees. It was cold, and that is just too cold for zucchini. Do I take a chance and start my seeds and start to plant them? Because I found this and I'm excited. Now, going back to these seeds, this is from a zucchini that I grew. Now, I don't know if it's going to grow true. I have found even some of the heirloom zucchini do not grow true. And it's not just me. I've heard this from other countries as well. So anyways, going back to what this is a zucchini that grew in my tote. It probably will throw a really nice fruit. Now, let's also talk about why this could be happening. This could be a false statement of spring. We may still be too cold for seeds to grow. I may put some zucchini seeds in a pot and nothing will come of it. Why? Well, you saw what I put in there. All that matter that I put in there about a week or so ago is starting to break down. There's microbes in there and probably earthworms too. And as they're working and eating and doing what Mother Nature wants them to do, well, they're creating a small amount of heat. Not a lot. This is not hot composting. This is cold composting. But even so, with all the matter of the leaves and kitchen scraps and all that in there, the microbes are doing what they're supposed to do, and it's creating a small amount of warmth to the soil. The soil could be 5 degrees warmer than it normally would be this time of the year. So this tote will probably do fabulous. And yes, I have tricked other plants to grow right around there by simply loading in matter that I know has to break down to create a very small amount of heat. It doesn't hurt that I have a big block wall behind it too that also radiates a small amount of heat. So I've got here the perfect microclimate. So for now, of course, I'm going to leave these seeds because I may put my own seeds in there and it may not work. These are growing, so their roots are sitting in there. They are always going to do better if they come up on their own in the ground like this, especially they were born here and raised here and they want to grow. So for now, I'm going to pick through and see as they grow and leave 1 or 2 in there. And I will prepare the other totes. So when I'm ready to plant some more, as I get my irrigation tubing in, at that point, then I'll have more totes ready and we'll be more closer to spring and hopefully not 40 degrees at night, but more like in the 50s. So now let me show you what I did with this tote. This is like a double duty video where you're going to see why I tricked these plants and how. Not purposely, I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but I have done it purposely before. And now I'm going to have this all ready to go. Another side note, if you're dealing with any of those horrible squash bugs, if you put in the irrigation tubing and you tool everything and have good clean soil, well, there's no larvae in there, you should be able to keep the squash bugs out because they don't chew on tool. They have no teeth, but you have to make sure there's no larvae in there and then you can hand pollinate your squash. Let's get into the tubing. Okay, so all 4 are in. Now I'm going to fill it up. I've put some holes in here already and I'm going to go ahead. Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California. Came out with my handy dandy little power tool and this is what I wanted to show you today. I think I'm going to go back and let you see what I did when the tote was completely empty, because trying to explain it now when it's full, well, I want you to see how it's done and how I'm doing it, because once you see what I'm doing here, I think 99% of you are going to try this, because this has been absolutely amazing. So I'm cutting 4 pieces, all equal length, and they're going to go just above the tote. So I can't hold the phone into it, but I've already cut 3. I need to cut 1 more, and then I'm going to zip tie them in. I put 2 holes there and 2 holes up there. I'm going to zip tie this tubing to the side, and I'm going to do it to each corner, and then I also will put a zip tie on the top. Now there it is. I can leave these. I don't even have to cut them. Just start, I can cut them or leave them. It doesn't matter. This one I put on the outside in case I want to show anybody how I did it. This will straighten out as it's in the warm air. It's been curled, but all 4 corners, and now you can stick a stick in here or a tomato stake at any time you want. It's not going to go anywhere. So when I started off, it was just me and my camera, but my camera guy came by. Actually, Gary came to see what I was doing, and he held the camera here for me. So what I'm doing here is I'm attaching the tube to the wall. Now what you want to do is cut 4 pieces, and you'll put each one in a corner. Now you could do just the front or just the back, depending on what your project is for. Maybe you just want to cover the front. Maybe you want to just stake up a couple plants. It's whatever you're putting the irrigation tubing in for. Remember, you can put a tomato stake in there. You can put bamboo sticks in there, branches from trees. So what I do here is I cut 4 pieces, and I go just above the tote in hopes there won't get soil in there. At least not too much. You want to keep the holes semi-empty so you can put something in them once the tubes are attached. Now, I use 3 zip ties. You can, of course, use wire. You could use anything you want, or you could use more than 3 if you think you'd feel more secure with, let's say, 4 or 5 zip ties. After all, the zip ties are cheap. Now, the irrigation tubing so far is still holding at 10 cents a foot. You calculate that. I didn't use more than maybe 6 feet here for the entire tote. Really, you're using such a small amount because I buy it in a 500-foot roll and it costs about $50. And I'm telling you, it's going to go really, really far. But see, I use my soldering iron. You could, of course, use a drill. And I make the hole, and then I just bring the zip tie in. Yeah, the zip ties will break after about a year or so. But, even so, if something happens to them, they're going to be pretty snug, those tubes in there, the irrigation tubing, because it will be up against the soil, so it will be held that way. Right now it's been curled because they come in a big roll, and as it's sitting out, within a day it straightens out really good. Think about how they have to use it in the proper way of laying it all over underground and running water through it. That's it. Now I've got all 4 corners in, and isn't that cool? This is the easiest thing. Now at this point, you can fill your tote the way you want. I prefer to do it before the tote is full, but let me tell you something. If your tote is full and you're just refreshing a tote, you can just go into each corner, dig out the corner, put the tubing in there, and then just tie it in with wire or zip ties, and then you'll have it to your access. I don't find it as good on the outside. It works much better to put the tubing on the inside of your tote. And keep in mind, this can be used on flower pots, buckets, my dish pans I grow in, anything, because you're going to zip tie these in place. This has been so much fun. I just emptied this because I wanted to refresh it, getting all the last of everything in there. And now it is ready to go. Today I'm going to show you how I am putting in my tomato stakes, and I think you're going to want to do it that way too. And you know how you put a tomato stake? You're trying to get it in there and it wiggles. Well, let me show you something. Is take your stake and stick it in. Guess what? There's no wiggle. It is now going to be exactly where you want it. You can wrap that around with tulle. You can stake up tomatoes. You could go vertical with your plants and go with wire or string around it. You could do whatever you want, but it is stationary. You can do this in a bucket. You can do this in a tote, a dish pan, pretty much any container you're growing in that you can strap those tubings in. This is no joke. This has changed my life because I can now run Tull, all around that and keep critters out of there. I could just stake up tomato plants. I could stake up zucchini and different squash, peppers, whatever I'm growing. I can change my mind and go from tulle to staking. I can run irrigation tubing down those stakes as well to create a vertical garden. I could be doing vertical gardening with this. That tubing going at 10 cents a foot is amazing. If you get a smaller roll, it can cost a little bit more, 15, 20 cents a foot. You may not need 500 feet. But, I'm using it everywhere, and I have not gone through a whole roll, and I bought it last year. This has been absolutely amazing, and it has changed my life in gardening. I hope this will change yours too. Somehow this video went from warming up your plants and tricking them to start to grow, as well as setting up totes and containers with irrigation tubing. Ask questions because my mind is rolling with this. Every time I go to use it, I use it for something else. It has been just the most amazing tool in the garden for me. So cheap, and it's just so versatile for so many things. As far as tricking your plants, as long as you don't have snow and your weather's starting to warm up, you may be able to just about get some stuff in certain areas, well, especially here in Southern California, by adding in some fresh yellowing leaves, kitchen scraps, things that need to be broke down. This will not work with the potting soil you buy because that's already broke down. There's no microbes that break things down, so you won't create that little extra heat. Keep that in mind. But if you've got kitchen scraps, bury it and start thinking about maybe planting. With that, have a wonderful day, and don't forget to eat what you grow. I'm so excited now. I'm going to start growing some zucchini, and we'll see how it goes. Bye-bye. Cool!